Hola, bienvenidos a la programación of The Hangout. Estamos aquí en esta noche acompañando a el pastor Jay Jimenez en esta noche y le damos gracias a Radio Inspiración por darnos la oportunidad para permitirnos estar otro día más unidos hablando obviamente de las cosas de Dios y cómo nos afectan directamente a la juventud, a esta generación. Y en esta noche vamos a estar hablando bajo un tema bastante importante, digo yo, porque es dirigido a la juventud. Y cuando le hablo a los jóvenes dentro de la iglesia, I speak to them as if like, you guys, like, yes, we have a pastor, we have a youth leader, we have a women's leader, but one day these positions and these spots are going to be held by you. Like you're the next generation. So to be able to motivate this generation and prepare them and equip them for every good work as time goes on, I feel like that's such an important thing. And I was even asking somebody who's here on this night that will be interviewed later is Bianca, y ella es líder de jóvenes. Y le pregunto a ella, ella dice que it's better to get to know them one-on-one, to see their difficulties, to see their character, their personalities. How can I pour out into this person? So I don't know if at some point you guys were youth leaders or
yes. I think when Diana said that, it's very important to be able to speak with her youth one-on-one. You know, you get a mix of a lot of different personalities. It's almost like becoming a parent in a way, because you get a mix of everything. You get youth members that are willing, you know, they want to change, they want something different. And then sometimes you get youth members that are there because they were dragged by their parents. So they give you the worst of them, the worst attitude. They don't want to be there. They don't want you to pray for them. They don't want you to minister them. They don't even want to be there, period. So that was something very important that, you know, it is a good mix to have, because, you know, that just means that, you know, they're in the right place. They're going through something at home, or they're going through something in school, and, you know, you're in that place for a reason too, you know, and it is to speak to them. It is to guide them. It is to get them to a better place in the relationship with God, or to even start a relationship with God.
Yeah.
Sí, como tú dices, Mary, exactamente. Muchas veces los jóvenes actúan de ciertas maneras y puede ser porque están pasando situaciones, o muchas veces ni siquiera están pasando por nada, sino que a esa edad tienen mucha presión, ya que las decisiones que toman no solo afectan en el momento, sino que van a afectar a lo largo de su vida. Entonces, no me imagino, esta presión hace que ellos actúen de maneras que a veces nosotros no entendemos, ni los propios padres lo dicen, oh, ¿por qué está tan actuando así? O ¿por qué está tan enojón? Pero tenemos que entender que es toda la presión que están pasando, las decisiones que están tomando, no es algo fácil. Y es algo que todos pasamos en algún punto.
Yo creo que el trabajo de los líderes dentro de una iglesia, sea like hasta el pastor or even a youth leader, because usually youth leaders are like older, but I think that the job of a youth leader, even like I was thinking the first Timothy chapter 4, where it says, don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Que ninguno tenga en poco tu juventud, sino sé ejemplo de los creyentes en palabra, conducta, amor, espíritu, fe y pureza. So, la palabra está diciendo que un joven puede ser de ejemplo dentro de una congregación. Like, no simplemente es los adultos, pero es de uno a uno en tu juventud cuidar lo que Dios ha puesto en ti, porque puede servir de conducta. Aún tenemos a padres que no van a la iglesia. Y no sé, I think it was you, right? That you were an example to your mom, that one day you came home and you hugged her because of what you had heard at church, right? So even you were an example, even in your young age. Y si vemos en las escrituras, muchas de las personas que fueron llamadas y escogidas de parte de Dios fueron jóvenes que hablaron profecías, pelearon con gigantes, que hablaron a gobernadores, a líderes. Que nadie tome en poco tu juventud, lo que Dios ha puesto en ti, porque para Dios no hay edad, no hay límite. Sí, es trabajo de nosotros como jóvenes cuidar lo que ha puesto dentro de nosotros. ¿Qué es un consejo que le podríamos dar a alguien que quizás está pensando volver atrás?
Sí, siempre van a haber esas dudas, más cuando eres joven, de, mi vida era mejor antes. Antes no tenía este tipo de presión, porque ahora tengo que ser perfecto, porque estoy en la iglesia, estoy con Cristo. Algo que mueve mi corazón mucho es ese versículo cuando Dios le está hablando a Jeremías y le está diciendo, no digas que eres muy joven, no dejes que tu juventud sea la razón por lo que no vas a ir, porque yo voy a usarte, yo voy a poner las palabras en tu boca y en tu corazón. Y definitivamente cuando un joven, imagínate, un joven que tiene toda su vida por delante, tiene tanto que le están ofreciendo en el mundo, en la escuela, en tantas áreas de su vida, le está entregando su vida a Dios, habla demasiado. Yo puedo ver el impacto aún que el pastor Jay tiene en los jóvenes. Hasta a mí me impactó demasiado porque es alguien bien joven. Yo me imaginaba cuando decían, vino el pastor Jay, era un señor de ya 40, porque honestamente creemos que para servir a Dios y tener un mensaje cargado, lleno de fruto que va a ser de bendición para alguien, tienes que ser alguien ya grande, pero no, Dios puede aún usar tu juventud para que otros jóvenes puedan ver, wow, Él lo está haciendo, Él entregó su vida a Cristo, yo también lo puedo hacer.
Y ahora vamos a pasar a una parte con el pastor Jay Jimenez, que va a estar dando un pensamiento, un mensaje para la juventud de hoy en día.
Thank you, Brianna, Amy, and Mary. Aquí estamos, así es. And you know what? We are really believing, estamos creyendo genuinamente que Dios está levantando una generación y Dios quiere usar a una generación. Sin embargo, creo que hay algo muy importante lo cual todos tenemos que entender, y es que esta generación es una gran oportunidad, esta juventud, pero al mismo tiempo hay mucha oposición, y creo que lastimosamente hay una juventud la cual ha permitido que la crisis, la depresión, la ansiedad, la incertidumbre, los problemas en casa, con los padres, en la escuela, en su vida personal, los degenere a tal magnitud. Y sabes, la juventud es algo hermoso. Ya sea que tú seas un joven o ya sea que no seas un joven, todos tenemos en común que vivimos la juventud. We have lived our, young days. Y sabes, la juventud es como aquel regalo de Dios, el cual, si no somos muy cuidadosos, la juventud viene, pero no viene para quedarse. La juventud viene, se va, y sabes, mientras esa juventud se está yendo, jamás volverá a regresar. Y yo quiero desafiarte, quiero hacerte la pregunta, ya seas joven o no, pero ¿qué estás haciendo con tu tiempo? Porque hay una generación hoy en día que nos hemos conformado y hemos honestamente excluido y hemos menospreciado el tiempo que nos ha dado. Dios te ha dado esta juventud no para que la desperdicies. No, yo siempre voy a ser joven. Bueno, eso dijo tu abuelito y míralo ahorita, ya no es un joven. No, I'm always going to be like this. Forever 21. No, baby, that's not true. You ain't going to be 21 forever. Yo te lo aseguro, yo te lo prometo. El tiempo va a pasar. Time is going to pass by. And you know what? Your destiny is on the line. Tu destino está en juego. No pongas tu destino en juego. Sabes, no te hablo desde una estancia religiosa, sino que te hablo de esta forma. Es más fácil criticar una generación que construir una generación. Es más fácil juzgar a una generación que levantar una generación. Es más fácil atacar que ayudar a un joven. Y ya sé que hoy tú eres joven o no eres joven. Yo quiero que aquel el cual no es joven ayuda al que es joven. Enséñale que sí se puede levantar, que sí es posible lo que Pablo decía a Timoteo, que nadie tome en poco tu juventud, sino tú sé ejemplo de los demás. Aviva el fuego que hay en ti. Hay una generación la cual tiene el fuego del Espíritu Santo, pero a veces es necesario volverlo a avivar. Así que padre, madre de familia, tú eres el vínculo de conexión que puede ayudar a que ese hijo en casa ya rebelde, enojada, como tú lo mires, pero Dios te lo ha dado como un regalo. Y sabes, hoy joven que tú me escuchas, young one that today you're hearing me, you're not going to be young forever. time is not in your favor. Time begins to run out as soon as you took your first breath. That's right. When you were a naked baby in the hospital bed and you took your first breath, time began to run not in your favor. It actually began to run out. Your time is not increasing. Your time is diminishing. And you need to take the decision to say, what am I going to do with my life? I know friends may be telling you, man, right now it's cool to smoke. It's cool to do cocaine. It's cool to have sex before marriage. It's cool to do this. It's cool to go to parties and clubs. The devil is a liar. These are things that the enemy has presented to you so you can waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Don't waste one more minute. You may say, well, I don't go to parties. I don't do cocaine. I don't smoke a blunt. I'm in church. Well, you know what? It is possible. It is possible to be fighting not necessarily the same things. You may not be fighting against a drug addiction. You may be fighting against pornography, or you may not be fighting against pornography. You may be fighting against depression, fear, shame, guilt. There are so many things that young adults fight with today. And there's a great testimony that's just around the corner, and I don't want you to leave. Hay un gran testimonio que está aquí a la vuelta de la esquina que yo no quiero que te vayas. Vamos a irnos a una pausa, pero estamos muy agradecidos y muy contentos de estar aquí a través de Radio Inspiración. Y este testimonio tiene tanto impacto. This testimony has just so much impact because ella es una joven. She is a girl, una joven. Y sabes, a veces en la juventud es cuando tomamos nuestras mejores decisiones o las peores decisiones. Sometimes in our young days is when we take our best decisions or the worst decisions. Now, let me just tell you this little heads up. Déjame te digo lo siguiente. She did not take the best decision at first. No tomó la mejor decisión al inicio, pero después, y la razón detrás del por qué es que ella está aquí es porque sí tomó una buena decisión. Así que no te vayas. Vamos a ir a un pequeño comercial y regresamos en unos cuantos segundos después de esta pausa con este gran e impactante testimonio. Dios te bendiga y nos vemos en un ratito.
Hola, bienvenidos de regreso al programa The Hangout con Jay Jimenez. En este tiempo vamos a estar, todavía seguimos en ese mismo tema diseñado para la juventud, to address things that our young people are struggling with. And I feel like there's a lot of young people who don't feel like God is for them, como que Dios no es para ellos, porque se sienten como que no, eso es de los tiempos atrás, eso es de mis papás, eso es de mis abuelitos, pero no es así. We come to tell you that Jesus is still living. He was living in the times of Moses. He was living in the times of your parents, and he's still living today. He's very much wanting to do a work and the same God. And going down that route, tenemos a una invitada especial. Introduce yourself, your name, whatever you want to share.
So my name is Diana Rosal. I come from the church Jesus El Salvador del Mundo with nuestros pastores Raúl y Hilda Dubon, located in downtown LA.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I want to know a few things about you. Queremos saber your experience into Christianity. Like, what are the major differences in the before, the during your process, and now in this moment?
During my process. Well, I want to say something a little bit about myself before getting into that question. Yeah. First of all, I want to give God the glory because he's the Alpha and the Omega, and he does things, everything new. And like you were saying, he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He will always be doing miracles, transforming. Every day there's a miracle in somebody's life. So my transformation really started off as my parents would take me to church. We'll go to church. I was about like 9. The same church with my pastors. They started off in their house. They named it a little church. They started doing the back of their house. And I remember going and just, being there as a little kid. And then we left and I just got into this craziness of the world. I was in a gang. I was selling drugs. I was, just doing crazy stuff that really was taking me down. I got to the mentality that, you know, if I'm going to die, I'm going to go to hell. And I was okay with that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just been the process of transforming my mind and my soul the way I think with God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that a key thing that I hear in your testimony, una cosa clave que escucho en tu testimonio, es esa parte de que, por eso te pregunté también al principio, like, did you grow up in the church? Yeah. And you said that yes and no, like, sí, no. And that's the case for most people who stray away.
Yeah.
Because esa semilla que sus papás plantaron, like, a su tiempo da fruto. Y tú dijiste algo clave, dijiste algo sobre que hay muchos papás que ven a sus hijos, como decías tú, que salías de la casa aún con your hands bloody, or you came back at whatever time. These things where your mom was worrying about you, family was worrying about you. And I'm pretty sure that family members were like, okay, ¿cuándo se va a arreglar? ¿Cuándo se va a componer? Estamos en oración, like this and that. So es clave para un papá permanecer dentro de la iglesia y enseñarle a los hijos, inculcarle las cosas de Dios. Y quizás un padre podría pensar, like, no, es un hijo y tiene que hacer sus propias decisiones, esto y lo otro, pero como padres tienes un llamado de parte de Dios a ser líder de tu hogar, más los papás. Se puede decir aún a demandar de esto de tus hijos. Y es bastante importante dejar esta semilla plantada dentro del corazón de ese niño, porque a su tiempo, aunque el tiempo pase, va a dar fruto. 100%. Y eso se ve clave even in your life. Like, was it just your, you said it was your aunt as well, right? Later on?
Yes, my aunt, she stayed in that church. And then, well, before getting into how I got into church, you know, just I want to take back a little bit of what you were saying about que los padres, you know, deben de enseñarles a sus hijos la palabra de Dios, ir a la iglesia, congregarse, la importancia de quién es Dios, porque, like you said, la semilla como un grano de mostaza, dice la palabra de Dios. Y el grano de mostaza es chiquito, pero el árbol es grande. A su debido tiempo, la palabra de Dios dará fruto. Yo me acuerdo cuando andaba en las calles, you know, pasaba por algo, me amenazaban, like, a punto de pistola, like, in my face. And I wasn't scared to die. But when I got home, I was like, God, it was you that kept me alive. It was you. And like, I'm serious. Like, I would lay in my bed and I would remembrance of me running around the back of the church that my pastors built up, back of their house. And I would tell myself one day I will be there. So it's very important. Y le digo a los padres que nunca se rindan con sus hijos, que aunque miren que sus hijos entran y salen drogados, con sangre en las manos, en la ropa, salgan con vestiduras de pandillero, que, you know, pueden hasta los padres frustrarse. Yo te vengo a decir que va a llegar un día, un momento que Dios los va a tocar y sus vidas van a ser transformados. Mientras tú sigas parado en el Vallarto, Dios te dará la victoria, porque somos más que vencedores en Cristo Jesús. La victoria ya es tuya, pero let me tell you something. Hay un proceso que tu hijo o tu hija tiene que pasar para aprender quién es Dios y jamás poder separarse de él. Porque ahí es donde comienza la transformación. So así empezó conmigo. Like, honestamente, a mí me decían, oh, you know, Cristo te ama, you know, ver en la iglesia o en las calles, you know, predicaban. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go. Like, no, you know, pero llegó un momento que Dios dijo, este es el día que yo he declarado y predestinado para ti. So, llegará el momento, llegará el día. Dios tiene escrito la fecha y el nombre de tu hijo o tu hija. Eso tenlo por seguro. Y si permaneces en la fe, mirarás la gloria de Dios. So, mi tiempo llegó, like, okay, I don't know. So,
girl, you're fine.
Like, once I get into it, like, no stopping me. No. So, quiero, como te estaba contando, antes de, you know, venir acá, que cuando me encuentro con Dios, mi primer encuentro, mi primera oración hacia Dios, no fue Padre Nuestro. I didn't know that. Yo no sabía Padre Nuestro que está en el cielo. I didn't know. Padre, en nombre de Jesús, no sabía. So, estaba en la cárcel porque me habían agarrado por tráfico de drogas en la prisión. Estaba en la cárcel. Me recuerdo que I was awake in my cell, in my bunker. La única razón que yo quería salir de ahí era por mi madre, que Dios tocó mi corazón por medio de ella, porque la verdad mi corazón, como dice la palabra de Dios, estaba endurecido como una piedra. Y mi oración fue esta. Le dije, hey God, hey, like, you know, I don't know how to do this, but you know what I'm saying? If you take me out of here, I promise you, I'll make a pact with you. I'll follow you. Yeah.
Pero hay mucha gente, esa parte de eso del pacto me impactó. Because when you were saying that, I was all like, okay, so you made a promise to God.
Yeah.
And there's many people like that guy who you were talking about, that when el juez se fue, él dijo, oh, cuando salga de aquí, padre, like, I'm gonna get right now. Y yo pienso que hay muchos jóvenes, y aún fuera de la juventud, hay muchas personas batallando con eso de que le hacen promesas a Dios.
Yeah.
Y unos no la cumplen.
No los cumplen, yeah.
So, en tu corazón crees, yo creo que sí, Dios ve cuando uno hace una promesa en sí de corazón o no, pero aún dijiste algo tú también, que uno puede hacer la promesa y hacer todo eso, pero no inmediatamente pasa el cambio, sino que pasaron como unos 3 meses contigo, ¿no? Que después comenzaste y Dios te habló una vez más. Esa voz que cambia todo. Pero hay muchas personas que tienen esos encuentros con Dios, escuchan la voz de Dios, pero todavía no se deciden. So, ¿qué le dices a esa persona que está indecisa, a ese joven que está indeciso?
Bueno, primeramente, cuando uno hace una promesa a Dios, está literalmente declarando I believe in the declaring of the word, que hay poder. La palabra dice que tenemos poder para atar y desatar, para dar vida y condenar. So, el declaramiento de palabras es muy profundo en la área espiritual. Cuando uno declara algo, es profetizando. Y esas palabras en el cielo son escritas. Y yo sé que a veces podemos declarar y prometer algo. Puede ser que no lo cumplamos a la vez. Pero por ese joven y the young person, I'm talking to you, you probably got disappointed of even your own self, because you keep promising and promising to God, but yet you can't make it. But let me tell you, that promise, God has it in his hand, and it will come a time that God will help you to complete that promise in him. So, yo le prometí a Dios y él cumplió. Ahora me faltaba
so
a mí.
he met you. You met him halfway.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I feel like they think that it's like, okay, like God, you do all the work. God has already met you halfway.
He already did.
Now it's up to you to make the
Exactly.
decision. But I was hearing this one thought where it was like, okay, a woman who is pregnant, from the moment that she is pregnant, that child in her, that's the beginning of life. It doesn't start like after you give birth, that's when you count it. It's from the moment that you are conceived. And he even told Jeremiah, I believe it was, right? Where he was like, in your mother's womb, I knew you. I knew the plans I had for you to prosper you. He knew was very uniquely each one of us designed. And like you said, we go back to that same point, que cuando Dios tiene un plan, un propósito con una persona, de que va a pasar, va a pasar. Que esos padres, esas mamás, esos papás no se cansen de orar por sus hijos, por sus familiares que todavía no son salvos, que una vez conocieron a Cristo. Aún la historia del hijo pródigo, que siempre mientras hay vida, hay esperanza. Dios quiere obrar, Dios quiere hablar y Dios sigue hablando por medio de su palabra. Vamos a ir a una pausa y nos va a estar dando una pequeña reflexión.
Hey, ¿qué tal? Soy Quique Paón y aquí estoy mandando un saludo a todos los que sois parte de las redes y de la comunidad de la radio Inspiración, que sale desde Los Ángeles para todo el mundo. Que Dios te bendiga y siempre conectados con la mejor música y la mejor programación. ¡Chao!
Bienvenido, estamos de regreso. Soy Jay Jimenez y aquí estamos en The Hangout. Excited, happy y siempre muy felices. Y estábamos compartiendo un tiempo con Diana en su testimonio. Sabes, yo quiero que tú logres entender lo siguiente. Dios no conoce los imposibles. God does not know impossible. Impossible is not in God's vocabulary. La imposibilidad no está en el vocabulario de Dios. En Dios hay sin número de posibilidades posibilidades, hay sin número de oportunidades para poder convertirnos en mucho más de lo que tú y yo no somos. Lo que Diana no te dijo fue lo siguiente, ella predica, she's a preacher. I'm telling you, she can preach a house down. Yeah, she's really, really good. I'm telling you, Dios puede hacer cosas grandes en tu vida. Solamente se requiere estar dispuestos. Y yo creo que hay algo lo cual aún hablábamos sobre la juventud la semana pasada en una reunión, y Josué era el que estaba compartiendo con nosotros. Josh, you were sharing something. Josué, not José, Josué estaba compartiendo con nosotros algo muy importante. I love what you said. You said, you better educate your kids. Tú dijiste, más vale, padres, que eduques a tus hijos. Because if you don't do it, porque si tú no lo haces, la escuela lo va a hacer por ti. Schools are going to be doing it for you, y no de la manera que debería de ser, and not from the way that it should be done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did say that, but coming in to expand on the idea also,
Yes.
because we can't put all the responsibility on just the parents.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a lot of also if you know you're a Christian and you follow the path of Christ and you're blaming your parents for everything that you're doing, you still have responsibility for what you do. Your actions are your own. So we can go on and point fingers all we want, but the thing
I
is,
love pointing fingers.
It all comes back down on us.
It is everybody but me.
But yeah, we just have to be really careful. If as Christians, we have to follow the path that God gave us, but that we have to follow it. Emphasis on we, because no one else is going to follow that path for you. You have to do it.
You had an encounter with God. Tuviste un encuentro con Dios, pero tú eres hijo de pastor. You are a pastor's kid. You said something that really got to me. You said people minimized, your testimony in the sense of, oh, but he's a pastor's kid. There's this false expectation that pastor's kids got it together.
Yeah.
Ain't no pastor's kids got it together.
Usually they're the ones that are craziest, huh?
They're the craziest. Look, here's one. I'm just kidding. No. I'm just joking. But you have this, like since I met you, you're so mature. You seem like a great young man. But tell us about that experience. You as a pastor's kid. Are you a pastor? You're a pastor's kid too. Yo, Steven is a pastor's kid. I want to know both of your guys' experience. Josh, share yours first.
Well, always especially as a pastor's kid, they always shelter us really well. Sometimes, not all of us, but for me, they sheltered me really well. I was sent to a private school, Christian school growing up. So everyone I knew was Christian, all that. But then I moved to LA, when I was in 7th grade. And that's when I was put in a public school. And that's when reality hit me all at once.
That's when it changed.
Yeah, that's when I was no longer sheltered. And because of that, those influences influenced me so fast, like nothing, because I wanted to be like them. I wanted friends. So I ended up blending into them, being actually one of the most unhinged kids at that school. It was crazy. But then
you were popular.
Well, I don't like using that word, because if you use that word, you're really not popular. But yeah,
popular for all the bad things. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Same. But then the encounter, it was during beginnings of sophomore year of high school, where I went to a youth conference, and right there, they started preaching, how some preachers don't hold back. And that was a good thing in that moment, because they were like, you're acting like this at home, and then you're acting at this at school. And that hit me so much, because they were just telling everything that was applicable to my life. And that's when I felt the presence of God, him calling me and going you have to change. You have to change.
Steven, what was your experience?
Whoa.
We used to have 2 mics. He needs 2.
My experience was a little bit different. So when I was younger, I didn't get sheltered as much. So I got shot straight into public school. But like he was saying, yeah, a lot of the times, being a pastor's kid, you do get a lot of different opinions from people in church as well. Because being in church my whole life, and being a pastor's kid my whole life, whenever I would go to school, I'll obviously see other kids doing different things, and especially right now, in the month of October, you know how they have the whole Halloween thing going on. I've never celebrated Halloween a day in my life, ever. And
that makes 2 of us.
When I was in school, kids would ask me like, hey, like, where's your costume? And I was like, oh, like, I don't do that. And then they would ask me why. And one thing that I really loved about my parents is that they did not hold back explaining why or what they were actually doing. So as a child, I actually got in trouble in like, I don't know if it was kindergarten, first grade, second grade, but I made a kid cry because I told him, I was like, yeah, like, I don't do that because of my beliefs. And then my teacher got mad at me, and they called my mom. Yeah, they called my mom, and they told her, hey, like, your kid is he's making other kids feel bad, and you need to educate your kid on what he's telling other children, because he's telling kids that like what they're doing is wrong, and like they're opening doors to stuff that like they don't even know. And then the teacher got offended at me, and my mom came to school, and then she was like, well, like, ma'am, like, respectfully, like I can't really control what my child says, but I mean, we are Christian, we are pastors, so like we teach our kids like what we believe in. Like, you know, it's up to my kid to do what he wants, because like he said, it falls upon us to follow the path that God gave us, and if we don't choose to follow that path, like, it's on us. It doesn't fall on our parents like opinions anymore. It's just us.
And I think that parents need to take, have the audacity to do this. We're going to make a quick switch right now. So yo creo que, sabes, es bien importante entender lo siguiente, que Dios nos llama igual como los padres, más en este tiempo que se hace por costumbre. Ya se puede celebrar ciertas cosas y no es así. Y se nos olvida lo siguiente, que es necesario entender que por más que en cierta cultura y sistema podamos creer e imaginar y pensar que se pueden hacer ciertas cosas, tenemos que entender que no, hay cosas que no se tienen que hacer. I really want to know, ¿a cuántas cosas ustedes les han tenido que decir no to como jóvenes? To what things, to how many things have you guys, Brianna, what have you had to say no to?
I've had to say no to my flesh, to myself. I've had to say no to friends. I think that majority of like jóvenes, they socialize by like going out to drink, bars, clubs. So, to me, like, my coworkers, they will ask me like, Bree, like, what, you should come out with us, like, Bree, this and that, like, but to me, it's like, that's something that I decide not to do. Just because I do feel that there is a testimony to guard, regardless if you're there to have a fun time or this and that. Like, pero es la forma que yo evangelizo y planto semillas. Pero
no.
I think that you have to be wiser than that sometimes. But that's one of the ways, like, saying no to like even going out to certain places.
And you are an independent young woman. I know there's many, independent young women and young men that feel and they say, no, well, I'm independent. I can do it. Why can I not do it? So we need to understand that sometimes saying no gives a great opportunity for us to experience, God's greatest yes. Sometimes no means you're saying no to things that can hurt you. And no, it's not just drugs. It's not just party and clubs. Sometimes it's even a relationship. And you have to say no to it because God has something so special for you. Sometimes it's a job opportunity and you have to say no to it because God is calling you to something much more greater than what you can imagine, than what you can believe. What else have you had to say no? Leo, you look like you have said no to lots of things. I want to know what you have had to say no to.
So like you were saying no to one of the things that, you mentioned a job. And actually one of the things that I did turn down was a job because of going to church, This was in the early steps of my walk in faith. And then one of my friends, he offered me a job to work in construction, but it was a travel job. So I would be traveling to Hawaii and to Massachusetts, but I'd be gone for a month. And then in that moment, I really thought about, like, what do I want to do? Who am I? Who do I want to become? And what am I doing to become that person? So that's why, I kindly declined it. I was like, you know what, man, I got to focus on my walk in Christ. This is what I want to do. This is who I want to become. So, that's probably like one of the things that I had to say no to. Other things like going out, looking at where I am, as much as, I like to go out places, I have to start watching what I bring to that place. You know, my presence it can't just be placed anywhere, you know. Where I go, it's important.
Wow, that is so good. I think I have time for Daniela. What have you had to say no to? I really want to know.
The same thing as Brianna, right? I think a lot of things that we have to say no to sometimes, and it's very hard to say no to, is friendships, because friendships, they
pull you.
Pull you, and so it's sometimes really difficult to say no. But I did have to say no to a lot of friendships, and now I see like that if I would have stayed with them, it would have probably led me to like really bad paths. And I'm very happy that I was able to meet friends throughout the process. I thought I was going to be lonely forever, but no. I mean,
nobody wants to be Christian. They're all so weird.
Yeah, but no. If you're feeling lonely, come to the Hangout, because you're going to meet some amazing people here.
That's a great promo, eh? I did not tell her to say that. I promise you, yo no le dije que dijera eso.
Yeah, because I think that's what most Christians, they sometimes need. They need more people who are also Christian, you know, to like keep making them follow like God, you know, like to like pull them closer to God instead of pulling them farther away.
That is so good. Déjamelo ahí. Leave it just right there. Vamos a ir a una pausa. We're going to go to a quick pause. My goodness. And after this, I know we're going to continue the conversation. Just a few more minutes. Vamos a seguir la conversación, pero nos vamos a una pausa rápidamente. No quiero que te vayas. Aquí estamos en The Hangout a través de Radio Inspiración. Don't go. Nos vemos. Regresamos después de esta corta pausa. Bienvenido, welcome, we are back. This is The Hangout. Y muy contentos y felices de siempre estar aquí en sintonía contigo. Y estamos en nuestro último segmento. We are almost finished. We are almost done. And I want you to know the following. God has so many ways to bless us. Dios tiene mil formas de bendecirnos. Y a veces nos es tan difícil confiar en las promesas de Dios, más como jóvenes, porque sabes, en este tiempo, en esta cultura, hay una generación que está siendo bombardeada de maneras inimaginables, de formas las cuales quizás nunca pensábamos, de maneras las cuales decimos cómo, cuándo, por qué. Y yo quiero que tú entiendas que no importa, aunque el enemigo se pueda levantar, Dios ha prometido en su palabra que Él nunca te va a dejar. God has promised in His word that He will never leave you. A veces decirle no a las cosas es darle acceso a que Dios te dé su sí. Y es lo más importante, porque en este tiempo hay una generación que ha abrazado el sistema de Baal. Sabes, hace unos días conversaba y predicaba más bien en una iglesia y hablaba sobre cómo hubieron 3 jóvenes hebreos que no doblaron sus rodillas ante Baal. Baal se había levantado una estatua directamente con el único fin de que adoraran y postraran. Representa el sistema, la cultura, lo que ahorita estamos viviendo. ¿Qué son cosas que ustedes han visto en otros jóvenes, que ellos sí han abrazado cosas que tú dirías, yo no abrazaría eso, yo no haría eso? Y no lo decimos para juzgar, no, lo decimos porque quizás podemos traer iluminación a la vida de otro joven más que necesita saber a qué decirle no.
A veces, like, the things that we have pictured in our mind as like, this is a no and this is a yes, sometimes they aren't as clear as yes and no, or like this is good and this is bad. I think that the enemy is very wise in the way that he works. Porque si vamos a la historia aún de Moisés, cuando él estaba en el monte Sinaí recibiendo abajo el pueblo que estaba haciendo, diciéndole a Aarón que construyeran their own idol, right? Y lo interesante de ese texto es que Aarón, a cierto punto, él dijo que, y en la mañana haremos culto o haremos ofrenda a Jehová, aún siendo un ídolo que no era Jehová. Entonces, ¿por qué él dijo, le vamos a hacer culto a Jehová? Yo pienso que a veces nos hacemos, aún dentro de la iglesia, las cosas que hacemos dentro de la iglesia, eso se convierte en un ídolo. Un título se podrá convertir en un ídolo. Sí. Just because, like, even like, this is not me throwing shade at pastors' kids. Not at all. But
the one behind the camera, I'm just kidding. No. No.
Not at all,
the one at the right table.
No, but even that, like, it's just a title. to a certain extent, it's just that.
Wow.
Even those of us that serve as like youth leaders, pastors, whatever you want to call it, it's just a title. Be very self-aware, self-conscious, be genuine before the Lord, and examine your heart, examine yourself, and be like, is what I'm doing for you, what seems good, is that an idol? Because what if God isn't calling you to that? ¿Qué si el Señor no te está llamando a hacer esas cosas? ¿O qué si lo estás haciendo con las intenciones incorrectas? ¿Por qué Aarón en ese momento dijo eso entonces? Le vamos a hacer ofrenda a Jehová. Jehová no estaba en ese ídolo.
A veces es más fácil formar tu propio Dios, no dejar que Dios te forme a ti. It's easier for us to build our own gods than to let God build you. Because in this time, in this culture, we believe that if we get busy, you being busy does not mean you're fruitful. You doing this, doing that. Oh, look at me over here. Look at me over here. That does not matter. The word of God says the following: you can save the whole world, but you can lose your soul. There is an enemy that is after your soul, and he's coming for you. And I feel like saying this. I believe that we are living not the last days, but the last of last days. It is a privilege to be born in this time, because I am believing that we are to see God move like never before. And that's where the devil has just lifted himself up like never before.
And as you're talking, I'm thinking of that same common theme, right? Where it's like, what becomes an idol? The busyness of it all, the oversaturation of like your agenda. Even serving in the church, like when your agenda is like oversaturated with like things and not the presence of God, the things that you do will not be sustained because there's no presence, there's nothing there. And even like si estamos hablando de un punto de vista de los padres, papás y mamás que están sirviendo constantemente día y noche, gloria a Dios que estén sirviendo, pero no descuiden de sus hogares, de sus casas, porque ahora en vez de convertir lo de Dios una relación y lo que sustenta tu hogar se ha convertido en un ídolo, cuando ese no es el propósito. El propósito es que Dios entre a tu hogar, que una y no desuna. Eso ya es el enemigo. Hay que tener bastante cuidado aún en eso.
Creo que esta juventud no tenemos las prioridades correctas también. I believe that we do not have the right priorities in mind. We want to do so much. We're so focused on arriving to destiny that we forget that God is not in the destination. God is in the process. You know, God was already at the destination. That's why he made you the promise, because he was there first before you got there. But now he's interested in building us. I know you have had an experience with God building you. Yo sé que has tenido experiencia ahí en esa prisión. You know, I'm sure que hubo algo dentro de ti que te hizo decir, man, I have to put my life together.
Before that, I literally saw two destinations, and I had to choose either the one that was going to take me to death and wickedness or the one to righteousness. I literally just, like, I try to explain to people, but I literally saw it like in a vision, 1 and 2. Where was I going to head to? And I just chose the one to righteousness. So a lot of people like find themselves really like in hard situations, but it's really God trying to get you to focus to see exactly where you're heading to.
You know, there's this popular saying, it's okay to not be okay. Yes, I agree. But, and that's a big but right there. That's a big but. I do not agree that even though it's okay to not be okay, I don't think it's okay to stay that way. There's so many, it's because, you know, right now I just don't feel okay. And we see in the word of God that there was men and women of God that took the decision to, even when they were not feeling okay, God did not speak to Gideon until he woke up from the place in which he was. And we can decide to be victims of our circumstances or be victor through them.
There's a lot of stuff that are unfocusing a lot of youth. And I feel like a lot of the times it's because we unfocus from the part that's most important with our walk with God, is that we have to keep on praying and we have to focus on prayer, because you can only talk to God if you talk to him through prayer. You could be close to him through prayer. You can't reach him any other way as close as you can if you pray to him. So you losing focus leads to you losing prayer leads to you losing a lot of focus and a lot of stuff, because you start to mix things that wasn't given to you by prayer with being like, no, I need to do this, but God wasn't telling you to do that originally. He was just trying to tell you to do something else.
You know, Daniel era alguien el cual abría sus ventanas y comenzaba a orar. Y sabes, yo no quiero terminar este momento, hoy que tú me escuchas, hoy que tú me miras, sin orar por ti. Ya sea que seas un adulto o un joven, creo que hoy Dios te está llamando por más, para que te conviertas en más, para que seas más. Que sí, aún en presencia de tus debilidades, Dios dice, cuando tú eres débil, yo soy fuerte. En presencia de tus errores es la oportunidad para que Dios te vuelva a redireccionar. En presencia de tus caídas, fracasos, heridas, lamentaciones, es la oportunidad para que Dios vuelva a reenfocarte. Hoy quiero yo orar por tu vida. Quiero declarar lo siguiente: Dios no ha terminado contigo. Quizás ya no estás en tu juventud y quizás estás viviendo las consecuencias de las malas decisiones de tu juventud. Hoy hay buenas noticias para ti. Puedes redireccionarte, puedes reintegrarte, puedes reposicionarte al plan divino que Dios tiene para tu vida. No tienes que terminar. Aquí es donde Dios apenas quiere comenzar. A veces es hasta en el momento en el cual caemos que Dios nos enseña: solamente yo te puedo levantar, solamente yo te puedo usar, solamente yo puedo ayudarte a que seas el padre que tus hijos necesitan, el esposo que tu esposa necesita, la esposa que tu esposo necesita, la madre que tus hijos necesitan, el hijo que tus padres necesitan en casa. Dios tiene 1000 formas de levantarte, y esa hoy es mi oración para ti. Levántate, levántate, levántate. No importa en dónde caíste, no importa qué decisión tomaste, nunca es muy tarde para redireccionarte. El humano puede ser muy cruel y puede juzgarte, pero Dios no nos juzga. Dios dice: este día es tu día para que vuelvas a reinventarte y a recrear y a reescribir tu historia. Toma tu lapicero una vez más, dale vuelta a la página y dile al Señor: esta vez no voy a escribir yo la historia. Esta vez voy a permitir que tú escribas cada paso, cada día, cada noche, cada mañana. Tomo la decisión de hacerte primero. Gracias por unirte hoy con nosotros aquí en The Hangout. Soy Jay Jimenez y como siempre nos vemos para la siguiente semana. Que Dios te bendiga y que Dios te guarde. Esto ha sido The Hangout.
Ahora puedes escuchar Radio Inspiración en tu hogar por medio de Alexa. Solo tienes que decir:
Alexa, toca Radio Inspiración.
Alexa, play Radio Inspiración.
Alexa, coloca la 1390M Los Ángeles.
Alexa, pon Radio Inspiración.
Reproduciendo Radio Inspiración.
Y muchos son sanados. Radio Inspiración, ya disponible en cualquier dispositivo de Amazon. Radio Inspiración ha estado por más de 2 décadas transmitiendo por sus ondas radiales a todo el sur de California y por todo el mundo a través de la 1390 AM, llegando a todo el condado de Los Ángeles y Orange County, 1240 AM en el condado de San Bernardino y 1130 AM en el condado de San Diego y Tijuana. A lo largo del tiempo, hemos querido acercarnos a nuestra comunidad con diferentes eventos para ser instrumentos de Dios y llevar principalmente el alimento para el alma, que tanto lo necesitamos como seres humanos. Nos hemos reunido para orar, interceder, adorar y fortalecernos juntos como pueblo de Dios en distintas ciudades, iglesias y lugares. Por eso en este 2023, queremos seguir siendo de inspiración y llegar a todas las comunidades que nos sea posible, llevando el mensaje del Evangelio a los matrimonios, familias, jóvenes y niños, a través de diferentes eventos en las iglesias y en la calle junto a la movida. Creemos que veremos el tan prometido y anhelado avivamiento para nuestra amada California, porque donde abundó el pecado, sobreabundó la gracia.